Good afternoon, everyone. Guys, I'm going to talk now about why I feel the United States getting into a war with Iran is inevitable. So just before we go on, guys, I do need to caveat these videos. As always, this is a lot of my own opinion, my speculation, and my analysis. I am going to share some links with you guys. The articles I'm going to share with you, while they're not directly related, although some of them are, to Iran and to the United States, what I want to do is I want to use them as precedents, as global precedents, as, you know, so we can look back at climates, at previous climates, because guys, history is all we really have to look at, because unfortunately I don't have a time machine yet. So if those, cast your mind back, guys, those of you who are old enough, to the war in Iraq, the invasion of Iraq. Now, you've got to understand the climate around, the climate of that, of that invasion. The United States has just suffered a huge attack, a huge terror attack. So, people were in that mind, people were in that, people wanted blood, guys, they really did, the Americans. Now, it then came out, there was reports that Saddam Hussein could have weapons of mass destruction. He could release weapons of mass destruction within 45 minutes, and that's kind of the rhetoric that moved forwards, and everybody was talking about it. There was secret documents released and secret documents leaked, and, it seemed like there was a looking back at it now. I mean, I was maybe like I can't remember, guys. I was less than 20, but I can remember like it was like every week, every month, something was happening, something else, and then, the war in Iraq, the war on terror, the war to overthrow Saddam. Guys, it's very difficult even now to find out, to find out actual mission goals and exit strategies, because when these conflicts start, if there's not a clear strategy on when we're getting out, we have absolute disasters like Afghanistan, like Iraq, where, we're the coalition, the West, I do say we, because I think I'm still in the army, but I'm not, the West, NATO, the coalition, whatever, they're in a country, they've taken control of the government, they've taken control of the infrastructure, and they're like, right, okay, now what? Okay, now what? What do we do now? Right, we need to train the locals we need to train the locals. We need to have elections, and we're kind of looking at these other countries with our Western eyes. And you know what, guys? That's the problem. We look at other problems with Western eyes, and looking at another country with Western eyes isn't always the best way forwards. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to share an article with you, and this article is about Ukraine. But what I will do is I'm going to make the distinctions back about the lead up to the build up to the war in Iraq. And then I'm going to propose to you that we're going to see something similar once Donald Trump gets elected, maybe before, but it's certainly coming, guys. Again, that's my speculation, my analysis, and my opinion. Believe me if you want, guys. If you think I'm totally being a Walter Mitty, put it down in the comments below. So, and don't forget, guys, we are going live tonight at 8, so you guys can join in and we can talk about things in real time. So here we are, guys. So are we asking enough hard questions about Ukraine? When the dust settles, will the West's media coverage get a passing grade, or will we find at times we allowed sympathy for the Ukrainian cause to overlook matters we shouldn't? Guys, we can be interchangeable here with this. Are we asking enough hard questions on, and if we just change that word to about Iraq, did we ask in the build up to Iraq? Were we asking enough hard questions about the intelligence that we were getting? Were we asking enough difficult questions about the motives of the people there? Because we didn't understand the Middle East at that time. We didn't understand Iraq. And, people talk about Iraq being a disaster. And my experience, guys, of the invasion of Iraq, I was one of the first troops who went over the border in 2003. my experience was totally different to what the mainstream touts. You know, when we went over the border, there were grown men coming up to us saying thank you, you know, and crying. So it's very difficult for me to say that it was, you know, honest. And looking back now, guys, what, 21 years ago, you know, it's very difficult for me to look back and say that the invasion of Iraq was a bad thing. You know, you can do the right thing for the wrong reasons. Equally, you can do the wrong thing for the right reasons, you know. So it's very difficult for me to... Saddam Hussein was a bad man. There's no denying that, guys. His sons, they were absolute... Guys, like, I won't tell you that, you know, I'm not going to divulge some of the stories I know about his sons, but, you know, for those of you who, you know, I don't know if any of you guys watching this went to Iraq, but, you know, you'll know what happened when they drained the pools in and around Iraq. You guys will know the horror stories of things that happened to young girls, you know, and guys, it's just absolutely horrific, some of the things that was happening in Iraq under the Ba'ath Party. So, when we say, you know, Iraq was a disaster, you know, it was and it wasn't. And it's, you know, this whole thing all comes down to not having a clear mission strategy. And like, you know, I know this is about Iran and the United States, but this is like, you know, like, for example, when David Lammy comes out and he says, you know, we stand by Ukraine until they win. Nobody knows what a win is. And we need to clearly identify what a win is, what the mission is. We need to understand the mission, because if we don't understand the mission, we get bogged down in all sorts of wild stuff. It's an unnecessary loss of life and nobody comes out a winner. So Iran then, guys. So why I think the United States and Iran at some point in Trump's presidency are going to have a conflict. So let's look at what's happening in that region anyway. You know, we've got the United States hugely, you know, backing Israel. And guys, you know, I'm not going to say any of these countries are right or wrong. Each country has its own agenda. You know, they have their own policies. And, you know, guys, I'm not going to say anyone's right or wrong. You know, I'll just say what it is. You know, you've got the United States backing Israel. You've got Israel fighting a war pretty much on all fronts now. And guys, it's Freaky Friday. I don't know what's going to happen today. So, you know, you've got J.D. Vance coming out saying America first with an exception to Israel. Donald Trump kind of echoing that. So you understand that under no circumstances, you know, are the United States going to leave Israel unguarded. And who is the main instigator in that region? Guys, it's Iran. There's no, you know, there's no denying it. This most recent attack in this, and again, every time I say it, guys, it's like absolutely wild. This most recent attack in Lebanon with Hezbollah, as I understand it, and again, this is from media, you know, as I understand it, the Iranian ambassador had one of these pages. Now, if the Iranians are not involved directly communicating with their people, how did he have one of these pages? This is just my question. How did he have one of these pages? And when it detonated, you know, if he didn't have one of these pages and he wasn't in communication with Hezbollah, how did that happen? You know, how did that whole thing happen? You know, the question's there, guys. I'm not speculating anything. I'm just asking a question with that. So you kind of, that sets the stage for the rest of, you know, that kind of sets the stage of where we are right now. So as we move forward, I keep saying, and I was saying it months and months and months ago, we're going to get this divergence, the United States and the Middle East, and the UK leading what's left of NATO, probably the EU, in Eastern Europe against the Russians. Remember, the Russians are already bogged down now. The Russians are, the Russians wouldn't be able to fight a war on another front. And that's, you know, and so right now they're bogged down. So I'm going to share this, guys, and it's what I talk about quite regularly. Well, I'll show it you actually, because so here we are, guys. House Resolution 559, declaring it is the policy of the United States that a nuclear Islamic Republic of Iran is not acceptable. Now, here we are, guys. So, passed House. This happened on the 1st of November, 2023. I'll just highlight this bit here, guys. And obviously, I'll put these links in the description. Hang on. Totally monged it. Right, okay, that's come up for some right. We'll just leave it. This resolution declares that it is the policy of the United States to use all means necessary. We'll come back to that, guys, what that actually means, to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon, and 2, to support the freedom of action of partners and allies to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. So, what does that mean? Let's look at the context of what we've just said. What we've just said about this whole region, and looking like that, Iran is in control of this region in the context of, the attacks on Israel. We've got America standing by Israel, and then we've got this resolution passed. It sounded benign in November 2023. Didn't get much press at all. So, 1, to use all means necessary to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. All means necessary does not rule out ground invasions, airstrikes, World War III, or whatever the United States want to throw at this. 2, to support the freedom of actions of partners and allies to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. So that means they will support anybody who wants to, prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. So what do we know about Iran's nuclear weapon program? Well, I've already done lots of videos on this, guys. We've already said, I said it quite a while ago. As soon as the Iranians started supplying the Russians with Shahed drones, I said, do we really think that the Russians are not sending nuclear physicists, nuclear scientists, whatever they are, down there to help Iran, build these weapons? It's come out in mainstream media that the Russians are helping the Iranians develop their nuclear program. So that's where we are now, guys. The breadcrumbs are there. The seeds are starting to sprout. We understand the legal framework now of a war with Iran. It's already out there, guys. House Resolution 559. It's there for all to see. Like Edward Snowden said, the biggest conspiracies are not the ones hidden in dark rooms. They're not the ones done in underground basements. They're the ones out there that pass through Senate and, that are there for everyone to see. Guys, they're telling us what's coming. And, for those people who think that when I do these videos, it's because I'm just trying to scaremonger. Tell me if anything I've said in this video is factually wrong. And again, where my opinions are, about are the United States going to stick with Israel? Well, that could be my opinion, but also I back that up with what JD Vance has said, his literal words. When we're talking about the stance on America trying to stop Iran getting a nuclear weapon, I backed that up, guys, with the House Resolution 599. I literally read what it says. And again, I don't know. Maybe the website's wrong. Maybe it was a typo. We don't know. It's 2024. Anything could happen. But, I'm backing this up with evidence, guys. Now, also, what you've got to understand is, and you've got to look at the realms of possibility. Do we really think that the supreme leader, I've said this so many times, do we really think the supreme leader of Iran is sat there and, there's Russian nuclear scientists and they're saying, oh, no, we can't accept your help because the United States says so? Absolutely not, guys. These things are being pushed forward. You can pretty much guarantee them, and at some point, all these dots are going to be connected and we're just going to see a wider conflict in the Middle East supported by the United States. Guys, that's my opinion. That's my speculation. I will put these links in the description. Guys, I'm going to be live tonight at 8. Don't forget to join us there. We can talk about this. We can talk about anything else you guys want. I'm still waiting for a question on aliens. Guys, when's that going to happen? Anyway, guys, I'm going to back to grid and I'll get you guys another video later.